Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cinema Safari. Today, Jurassic Park and the legacy of the franchise. And we're going to also be talking about and seeing where the franchise is going to go in the future, especially after Rebirth came out earlier this year and some of the hit Netflix shows as well. So get ready to take a journey to Isla Nublar with Jurassic Park. So the Jurassic Park franchise, it started. The films and franchise started in 1993 with the first film, directed by Steven Spielberg, written by David Coep and Michael Crichton, who also wrote the books that the films are based off of. And after the overwhelming success of the first film, uh, second film came out a couple years after that, and it just blew up. So today there are 7 films in total, the 3 Jurassic Park films that create the Jurassic Park trilogy. Then there were originally 3 Jurassic World films that debuted starting in 2015 with Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard taking over the 2 leading roles in that trilogy. And then a 4th Jurassic World film, Jurassic World Rebirth, came out earlier this year with Scarlett Johansson and Jonathan Bailey in the 2 leading roles. So in addition to that, there's been a lot of television shows, theme park attractions, a live stage show called Jurassic Park Live or Jurassic World Live. So there's just been a lot of video games as well. So it's expanded tremendously in the past 3 decades since the first one came out. All the films have done pretty well at the box office, I think. Jurassic Park 2 and 3 of the original trilogy didn't necessarily do as strong, maybe for the time, I guess, and against their budget. They still did pretty well, still considered successful in that perspective. All the films, though, the first film received universal acclaim critically. All the films since then haven't been as well received as that original film. But Jurassic World Rebirth was by a lot considered an improvement over the 3 Jurassic World films that preceded it. And mostly due to the fact that it felt had in a lot of ways a more similar feel to those original Jurassic Park films, which a lot of audience members liked about it compared to those other 3 Jurassic World films. So that's a good sign for the franchise. And whether or not they are continuing to do more films after Rebirth is still kind of up in the air. Nothing's really been confirmed. I know Scarlett Johansson is signed on to reprise her role in a potential sequel. Hopefully Jonathan Bailey would also return as well. Thought the 2 of them were a good duo, and it would be interesting to see where they go. I know Jurassic World Rebirth, the events in the film, it kind of didn't really directly set up something for a sequel per se, but they could definitely figure something out if they wanted to. I know after Dominion kind of the 3rd film in the World trilogy, it wrapped up the main story from that started with the original Jurassic Park film. So at that point, we weren't really sure if we were going to get anything else. A lot of people were saying that after Dominion, or when Dominion came out, the franchise, it's run its course. It just felt like there was nothing new, nothing fresh that people wanted to see from it anymore. And then Rebirth came out a few years after that, and it was slightly better received. Still facing some of the same issues that the World trilogy preceding it faced. So it has good and bads with it. So I don't really know personally where they would necessarily go with another film or like a sequel to Rebirth. Um, so I'm just personally I don't know. It would be good to see. I love Jurassic Park. I love dinosaurs. Jurassic Park is one of my favorite trilogies. Um, I mean, I have a few that I really enjoy, but Jurassic Park is one of them. Um, so I would love to see another film, or just a continuation of the franchise, in any kind of media. But I just honestly, I'm sure they could come up with something that would be entertaining, but I don't know what they go from the events of Rebirth where they would necessarily go. So beyond the films, we also have a couple television shows. Well, first short films. There have been two short films that kind of tied in. I think both of them tied into Dominion. So there was one that came out called Battle at Big Rock, both directed by Colin Trevorrow, who directed two of the films in the original like trilogy of the World Jurassic World films. Um, so Battle at Big Rock came out in 2019, which kind of was a separate thing, kind of around a family who was on a road trip, I think, and like uh, something to do with dinosaurs. I didn't actually see it, so I'm not really sure too much what it's about. But then there was another short film in 2021, um, a prologue to Dominion, which I think in the extended version of Dominion that got released on like DVD and digitally after the film uh, was released in home media. It wasn't a theatrical version. Um, it was the opening scene in the like extended version that was released. But this was a short film that was created before Dominion came out, about starting off with in prehistoric time with a couple dinosaurs fighting. Kind of get to see the world of the actual dinosaurs, before they're recreated in Jurassic Park. Um, and then it jumps to the present day when, after the events of Fallen Kingdom, where I think a T-Rex is running through the woods, and he ends up at like a drive-in theater, and you get a sense of they're in the real world now. So a couple of short films, both of them were very well received. Um, so yeah, definitely well received, and I think was an interesting part just to kind of tie into some of the films and just to get a glimpse of like the larger world that isn't necessarily seen in the films, which was good. There's also been a lot of television shows as well. There's been a lot of Lego animated projects throughout the years, um, both on like NBC, Family Channel in Canada, Nickelodeon's produced a lot of them as well. There's been a lot, aimed more, I guess, towards a younger audience, but fun for anyone. Lego. Then we also had the two hit Netflix shows, which were very popular, Camp Cretaceous and then Chaos Theory, which was a sequel series to Camp Cretaceous. So for those of you who haven't seen it, Camp Cretaceous is set starting during the events of Jurassic World, and it's centered around the Nublar Six, a group of 6 kids who are win a trip to a camp at Jurassic World, and they're kind of like the testing group for the camp. Camp's not officially open yet, so they start out there doing some camp activities, and then a few episodes into season 1, we the Indominus Rex gets escapes, and that's where it starts to tie into the films, kind of. And the series ran for 5 seasons. Chaos Theory ran for 4 seasons, and that takes place more during Dominion in that same time frame where they're, in the rest of the world dealing with coexisting with the dinosaurs. But in Camp Cretaceous, we do see certain events that happen on the island through the eyes of the Nuclear Six, especially during Jurassic World, where the Indominus Rex does escape. You see some of the fallout from that through their point of view and things they deal with on their side of things, and then them trying to escape the island on the ferries when the island's first evacuated. Obviously, they don't make it. Otherwise, it would be a very short show. So very interesting with that. Then we also see some of the fallout from like the first scene of Fallen Kingdom, where they're at the island at night and then getting a sample of one of the dinosaurs or something. And then the Mosasaurus jumps up, snatches the guy, and we see them see it through their eyes and thinking that those guys are there to get them, to rescue them, but they're not. So a lot of things, a lot of tie-ins that are cool, like small things between the show and the films, which is cool. But it's also really cool because we get to see like another side of the story set during the same time as the main films. That is cool because when you're watching a film, you don't necessarily think, while these main characters are like, these are the main events of the film, there's a whole nother group out there that might be dealing with the same exact thing that we don't even think about. And like, they have a completely different experience. So they're cool shows, both of them, because we get to see like another group who we fall in love with that become like the main characters dealing with certain things during that same time period as like these other characters who we've known for years, and what they go through and how they experience these similar events, which was cool. So both series were very well received. I know Chaos Theory was canceled after its 4th season, which premiered, I think, maybe like a month ago. And so I'm not sure. I haven't seen the 4th season yet, so I'm not sure exactly how well it wrapped up the show or if they were planning to end it now. I know that Netflix and Universal, for these shows, they kind of ended their partnership. I read somewhere, so I'm not sure if that was why it ultimately got canceled. I'm sure it might have been, but at the same time, I'm not too sure if they were planning on a 5th season potentially, since Chaos Theory did have 5 seasons, or since Kim Cretaceous had 5 seasons. So I'm not sure exactly for Chaos Theory if they were planning to do like one more season or potentially keep going beyond that, or if they were just planning to do 4 seasons and wrapped up anyway. I'm not too sure until I actually watch it and know exactly what happened. But the partnership did end, as what I read. I know earlier this year for the films, they made a deal. Netflix and Universal had a deal, so the films were released onto Netflix. I'm not sure since then. That was earlier in the summer, so I'm not sure if they're even still on there. But the partnership for these shows did end, unfortunately, I read. So, any future things they were planning to necessarily maybe do, that's all over, which is sad. But these 2 shows were very well received, both for just the storyline, the characters. I really like the animation style as well. I thought it was great. So that news was a little disappointing. Because I think there was definitely some potential to continue the series and even just maybe a future, like another sequel series, potentially, just to even grow it further and get some more of those fun stories. So with that, Jurassic Park, it's been around for well, the media franchise has been around for 3 decades now, since the first film. Um, there's been a lot. It's left a huge legacy. Had a huge impact on a lot of people in the industry as well. So first, there is a future series that is in the works called Jurassic World Explorers. That is an upcoming children's animated series um, based on the Jurassic World trilogy. Uh, According to the internet, says it was going to be released sometime in 2025. I don't know if it actually was released, or it doesn't say what it was released on, so I'm not even sure if that's happening anymore. There is an untitled live action series that first was being rumored back in like 2020. I think it uh, kind of started stirring up before the pandemic, so I'm not even sure. Frank Marshall did kind of debunk those rumors, so I'm not sure if that's actually was ever even like a thing that was being talked about, because it was kind of skeptical on that as well. So that would be kind of interesting to see a live action series get to like more character development, more time to like dig into some characters that are created. So it would be pretty cool if there was a live action series that was ultimately created. I think there could definitely be a lot of potential there. So the impact and legacy of the franchise, it's a huge cultural impact. It began with the original film by Steven Spielberg in 1993. It significantly influenced how dinosaurs are perceived in pop culture. Because before Jurassic Park, I mean, obviously that was before I was born, so I don't know how dinosaurs were received before then. Um, but they definitely became a bigger topic, I think, after 1993. Because also in 1993, you got Power Rangers, which their original powers were also based off dinosaurs. So I think it was a big for that and Jurassic Park. It was definitely a bigger year for dinosaurs, and since then, I think dinosaurs have been a bigger topic um, throughout pop culture overall. Also, the technological innovations, especially for that original film, um, and that T Rex specifically in the original film was widely talked about by a lot of people, both in the industry and just audiences as well. Because up until then, you didn't see that kind of innovation as much. Besides maybe like Star Wars stuff like that. Um, but it was definitely a big turning point for CGI for that film. There's been a lot of themes and messages throughout the films, like humanity's relationship with nature as a big one. A big thing, especially in the Jurassic World trilogy, Dominion specifically, with the coexisting of dinosaurs and humans, um, and how humans are just racing towards extinction, destroying our world. Um, it's been that's a big concept, big message throughout the films, and um, definitely a big thing that's being talked about, and it's a big connection with the real world because that stuff's happening in the real world, so it's definitely a big connection that's been in the films and the world as well. Throughout the franchise, there's been a lot of iconic characters, evolution. Alan Grant, Ian Malcolm, Ellie Sadler in the original trilogy. Then you have Owen Grady, um, Claire Deering, and then in the new films, Scarlett Johansson's character, Jonathan Bailey's character. I don't remember their names. Scarlett Johansson, Zori Bliss, I think that's her name. I don't remember Jonathan Bailey's name, sadly, but a lot of iconic characters that are throughout the franchise, similar to other franchises. So it's produced a lot of characters that people like and enjoy, as well as just seeing dinosaurs in a different light. And there's been, especially like Blue, who was in the Jurassic World trilogy, the Velociraptor. A lot of people recognize Blue, outside, like in theme parks, and just like stuffed animals, puppets. Seeing Blue, a lot of people know who that is, which is pretty cool too. So there's been a lot that the Jurassic Park trilogy has impacted both in the industry, in pop culture throughout the 3 decades since the films began and the media franchise grew tremendously over the past 3 decades. And I'm excited to see where we go in the future with the franchise and what they continue to do, how they continue to move forward with it. So, so on that note, we are going to wrap up today's episode. So Jurassic Park, it's been around for 3 decades. I think there are a lot of mixed opinions about it now. There are, especially with the films. A lot of people are saying that it has felt like it's run its course, which I can definitely see that. Being such a huge fan of the franchise, I see both sides. I definitely agree that there are definitely a lot of aspects of it that feel like it has run its course. They're kind of recycling a lot of the same ideas, concepts in like the writing, the story wise. So I definitely see that that side of things. Another side of things, as like a huge fan, I do want to see it keep going. I don't know necessarily how like they can kind of reinvigorate the audiences to give us a fresh take on it. For the shows like Kim Cretaceous, Chaos Theory, I think those have been more successful for the franchise in a way than some of the films, just because we're seeing things from a different side, different characters, different point of view, which have been very successful, very very well received compared to some of the films more recently. So I think if the franchise does continue, which hopefully it does, doing things like that, whether it is in film or more shows going down the road, stuff like that will help keep audiences intrigued with the franchise, and I think help it keep moving in a successful path going down the road in the future. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on this, how the franchise has impacted you over the past 3 decades, what your favorite film is, what your favorite memory moment is from the franchise, either film, show, at one of the attractions at the theme park, whatever your experiences. Comment in the video with that. Like, subscribe to the channel if you're not already. We're also on Instagram, Twitter. And thank you for watching. Thank you for your support. And I will see you all next time.